Okay, welcome to the deep dive. We're diving deep today into um, a subject that touches pretty much everyone's life, mastering your monthly budget.
Yeah.
We're working off a really comprehensive guide provided by you, our listener. You know, that document titled 10 Guaranteed Ways to Master Your Monthly Budget. Some of them.
Right. And our goal with this deep dive is, well, to cut through the noise, unpack the core insights and strategies from this guide, really give you a clear path for navigating your own financial well-being.
Exactly. And the guide starts by reframing how we think about budgeting, which I love. It's not just this like tedious task you dread doing.
Yeah.
Think of it more like building the essential roadmap for your financial journey. It's how you truly understand where your money comes from, where every dollar is actually going. And it's fundamental for setting goals, tackling debt, and honestly just slashing a huge chunk of financial stress.
Right. Trying to build stability without one is like driving blindfolded.
Pretty much. Or like trying to navigate a complex city without GPS, you're probably going to get lost.
Right. That roadmap analogy is really good because it highlights that a budget gives you direction and, crucially, control. It doesn't have to feel like a cage.
Right. It's about empowerment.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's kick things off with the foundation the guide lays out. Why does budgeting really matter? What are the core benefits that make it, worth the effort?
The guide is super clear on this. At its heart, budgeting provides financial awareness. It pulls back the curtain so you can actually see your spending patterns.
Yeah.
You get genuine clarity on your income streams and maybe even more importantly, where your money is actually being spent day to day.
Which, as the guide kind of hints, can be incredibly eye-opening, sometimes even startling.
Oh, definitely.
You think you know, but seeing the actual numbers on the page, well, they don't lie.
Precisely. And once you have that awareness, that's when you can move to setting financial goals. The guide really emphasizes this, whether it's saving for something shorter term like a vacation or those big long-term dreams like a house or retirement.
Right.
A budget lets you intentionally allocate funds towards those specific aims. It turns vague wishes into, actual concrete financial plans.
It's the engine that makes those dreams actually achievable.
And it's absolutely vital for debt management. Seeing your income and expenses laid out clearly makes it pretty obvious where you might be overspending and where you can maybe cut back to prioritize paying down loans or credit cards.
That's critical.
Yeah, it's a critical piece of the puzzle for building real financial freedom, something the guide stresses again and again.
And let's not forget the massive stress reduction that comes with this. Just knowing your financial situation, especially when things feel uncertain, provides such significant peace of mind.
It really does.
It really is that roadmap for financial wellness, helping you navigate the expected costs and, those curveballs life inevitably throws at you.
It brings a sense of order to what can feel like, financial chaos for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, to build this roadmap, this budget, the guide breaks it down into essential components. Understanding these is key to creating a plan you can actually follow, an actionable plan.
Okay, so what are the building blocks according to this guide? Lay them out for us.
You start with your income identifying all sources, not just your main salary. Think about bonuses, freelance work, side hustles, maybe even passive income streams.
Right.
And a really crucial point the guide makes is to always use your net income after taxes and deductions.
Net income. Got it.
Yeah.
Seems obvious, but actually easy to miss if you're just thinking gross pay.
Right. That's the real money you have to work with. Next up are your fixed expenses. These are the costs that are predictable. They generally don't change much month to month.
Like rent or mortgage?
Exactly. Rent, mortgage, core utility bills, those can fluctuate a bit. Insurance premiums, they form your baseline financial commitment.
Your non-negotiables. And then they're the ones that keep you on your toes.
Exactly. Variable expenses, these fluctuate quite a bit. Groceries, dining out, entertainment, clothing, those are the classic examples. And as the guide points out, these are often the categories where spending can kind of get away from you if you're not paying close attention.
The fun ones, but yeah, they can definitely be budget busters if you're not careful.
Then there's savings and investments. Now, this isn't treated as a leftover category in the guide. It's an essential component where you proactively allocate funds for emergencies, retirement, education goals, whatever they might be.
Right. It's that pay yourself first idea baked right in.
Making saving a priority, not just an afterthought.
Exactly. And along similar lines, debt repayments. Explicitly setting aside funds for loans or credit cards is just fundamental for financial health and, building or keeping good credit.
Definitely needs its own line item. Can't just lump it in somewhere else.
Absolutely not. Finally, discretionary spending, basically your fun money.
Right.
This is for hobbies, travel, going out, anything purely for enjoyment.
The guide is smart to include this explicitly. A budget needs to allow for life's pleasures. Otherwise, it just becomes too restrictive and frankly unsustainable for most people.
Balance is key.
Yeah.
And the guide wisely calls the budget a living document.
Which is such a critical insight. Your life changes, right? Your income might change.
Yeah.
Your goals definitely evolve over time. So your budget needs to be revisited and adapted regularly.
Yeah.
It's not some static plan you create once and then just, forget about it.
That's a huge point.
Yeah.
Okay, so understanding the why and the components,
Yeah.
that's the foundation. But how do you actually get started? How do you get that crucial awareness the guide talks about?
Right.
That brings us to the really practical step of tracking expenses, which, yeah, the guide acknowledges can feel daunting, but it's just essential.
It really is. It's the step that gives you the actual data you need to make informed decisions later on. And one of the first practical steps the guide outlines is creating clear expense categories.
Okay.
This helps you see where the money is actually flowing, grouping things together.
What kind of categories does the guide suggest are most helpful for breaking things down?
Pretty standard ones, actually. Housing, utilities, food, and they specifically call out watching how much dining out adds up.
Oh, yeah, that's a killer sometimes.
Totally. Then transportation, healthcare, entertainment, leisure, all those streaming services add up. Savings investments, and then like a miscellaneous category for anything else that doesn't neatly fit.
Grouping spending like that just makes it so much easier to spot trends, doesn't it? See where the leaks are.
Absolutely. And then you need tools to actually do the tracking. The guide runs through several popular options.
Mobile apps get mentioned as being super convenient. They highlight Mint, which can connect right to your accounts and often auto-categorizes things for you.
Yeah, Mint's a big one. And YNAB, you need a budget, which follows a pretty specific philosophy of giving every single dollar you earn a job before you spend it.
Interesting approach.
And Pocket Guard is another one they mentioned, which is focused more on showing you exactly how much disposable income you have left after your bills and savings goals are accounted for.
Apps definitely make it easy to track on the go. But the guide also covers like manual methods too, right?
Right.
Spreadsheets, Excel, Google Sheets.
Oh, definitely. They note that spreadsheets offer maximum customization, which some people really like, and you can find tons of templates online to get started if you don't want to build one from scratch.
And for the truly analog approach.
Yep. Traditional methods like just using a notebook or the cash envelope system for different spending categories or even just a simple ledger.
Wow, old school.
And hey, don't forget the most basic method mentioned, simply reviewing your bank and credit card statements regularly. Often you can spot patterns just by looking back over a month or two of activity.
True.
The crucial part, though, regardless of what tool you use, is scheduling time, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, to actually sit down and review these expenditures. The guide describes this review process as enlightening and sometimes startling.
That feels like an understatement for my first few budget reviews. Definitely startling sometimes.
Haha, yeah. But framing tracking as empowerment rather than just tedious record-keeping or restriction, that's a really key insight from the guide. It's about taking control by understanding.
Right. Okay. So once you have that understanding, you can actually start steering the ship. And that leads directly into setting financial goals, which the guide calls your financial compass.
Goals are what turn all that tracking data into meaningful action. The guide makes a useful distinction between short-term goals, which you typically aim to achieve within about a year.
Like saving for a specific vacation, maybe finally paying off a pesky credit card balance, building that initial emergency fund cushion, or saving up for holiday gifts. These feel good because you get quicker wins.
Exactly, they build momentum. And then there are the long-term goals, which obviously require a longer time horizon, usually more than a year.
Things like saving for a down payment on a house, really planning and saving seriously for retirement, maybe building a college fund for kids, or tackling significant student loans. These are the big ones.
The big rocks, yeah. And to make these goals effective, to make them actionable, the guide strongly recommends using the SMART framework.
Okay, the SMART framework, and that's pretty standard for goal setting in general, but how does this guide specifically apply it to financial goals? Walk us through the letters again.
Okay, so S is for specific. Don't just say, I want to save money. Make it concrete. Like, I will save $5,000 for a down payment on a house. The more detail, the better.
Much clearer target.
Okay.
M is for measurable, right?
Yeah.
You need a way to track your progress.
Yes. So that $5,000 goal becomes something like, I will save $500 each month for 10 months. Now you have a clear metric to see if you're actually on pace or if you need to adjust.
A is for achievable. This is about being realistic, right? Given your current income and expenses.
Exactly. Can you genuinely set aside $500 monthly without completely gutting your budget and making yourself miserable? The guide stresses being honest with yourself here. Setting unrealistic goals is just a recipe for frustration and giving up.
R is for relevant. Does the goal actually align with your overall life plans and your values?
Right. Does saving for that down payment make sense if homeownership is truly a significant life goal for you? It connects the financial goal to your bigger picture motivation, keeps you going.
And T is for time-bound. Put a deadline on it. Creates urgency.
Yep. Instead of, I want to save for a vacation someday, it becomes, I will save $3,000 for a vacation by next summer. A deadline helps you prioritize and makes it feel real.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, smart goals. Makes sense.
And the guide's real insight here is that applying this structure transforms those vague financial hopes into concrete action plans. That structure genuinely provides the motivation you need to actually stick with it.
That structure really makes it feel much less overwhelming, doesn't it? Okay, so we've tracked our spending to understand where we are. We've set these SMART goals to know where we want to go. Now we actually have to build that budget and critically figure out how to free up funds to hit those targets.
Right.
This is where cutting costs comes in. The guide emphasizes building a realistic budget that directly supports those goals you just set.
And that starts by really nailing down your income assessment, kind of revisiting what we talked about earlier, your net salary, any side hustles, passive income.
Yeah.
The guide gives a good example. If your income fluctuates, say, between $3,500 and $4,000 a month, it's often smartest to budget based on the lower end, the $3,500. That way you ensure you're always covered.
Building in that buffer. That's smart planning.
Then you plot out your expenses, carefully separating those fixed costs that are relatively stable, like the guide's example of maybe $1,200 for rent, plus $200 for utilities, giving you a $1,400 baseline.
Against those ways. Variable costs, like groceries, which might average $500, but, from tracking, are likely to spike during holidays or special events, maybe hitting $700 sometimes.
Exactly. Understanding both sides allows you to build a budget that's flexible enough for life's ups and downs, but structured enough to keep pushing you towards your goals. And, like the guide says, budgeting isn't about deprivation. It's really a powerful tool for making informed choices and taking back control.
Regaining control, that's such a powerful motivator. And one of those direct ways to gain that control is by actively looking for ways to cut unnecessary costs. The guide presents a couple of really practical strategies for this.
Strategy 1. Ruthlessly reviewing your subscriptions and memberships.
Oh, this is so relatable. Streaming services, music apps, maybe a gym membership you haven't used in months, online publications you barely read, they just silently drain the bank account.
The guide suggests a simple exercise. Make a list of everything you're subscribed to, then honestly evaluate your actual usage for each one. The phrase they use is pretty blunt. Cut the duds.
Cut the duds. I like that.
If you're paying, say, $10 a month for something you completely forgot you even had, well, that's $120 a year you could be saving or putting towards a goal you actually care about.
The guide shares a really specific little anecdote about someone who canceled an old magazine subscription they weren't reading anymore and made a conscious decision to redirect that exact amount, that $10 a month, straight into their travel savings fund.
Right.
It turned a totally wasted expense into actual fuel for a dream trip.
That personal connection makes it real, doesn't it? Okay, strategy 2 is meal planning and grocery budgeting.
This feels incredibly practical and potentially hugely impactful for most households. Setting a realistic grocery budget first, maybe $300 a month as the guide uses for an example.
And planning your meals weekly is key here. It significantly cuts down on those expensive last-minute what's for dinner, takeout decisions, or convenience food purchases.
Yeah.
Create a detailed shopping list based directly on your meal plan. This is your defense against impulse buys once you're actually in the store, surrounded by temptation.
Totally. And the guide includes some smart shopping tips too. Cautiously buying in bulk, but only for staples, you'll definitely use. Opting for store brand alternatives, which are often just as good. And leveraging digital coupons or grocery store apps for discounts.
They share another compelling anecdote about someone who really committed to meal planning. They saw a noticeable drop in their grocery bills almost immediately. They wasted way less food because they were only buying what they actually needed for the week's plan, and maybe surprisingly, they found they genuinely enjoyed cooking and eating homemade meals more often than constantly grabbing takeout.
So cutting costs isn't just about saying no to everything. It's often about consciously redirecting funds from maybe low-value spending to things that truly enhance your life or actively move you towards your goals.
Exactly.
It's about making smarter choices that actually improve your overall financial health.
Precisely. And once you've turned some of that fat, maybe started freeing up a little bit of cash flow, the guide stresses building a crucial safety net next. This moves us into talking about the emergency fund and the power of automation.
Right.
The emergency fund is presented as pretty much the non-negotiable next step after you start cutting costs. It's your financial shock absorber for unexpected situations.
Essential buffer. Why is having this fund so incredibly critical, according to the guide?
Well, the guide is very clear on this. First, it allows you to handle those unexpected expenses, a sudden car repair, an urgent medical bill, maybe even losing your job without immediately having to resort to high-interest debt like credit cards or loans. It's huge.
Yeah, massive.
Second, it provides a degree of financial independence and flexibility. It gives you options during challenging times, like maybe taking a bit longer to find the right job instead of the first one. And third, as we touched on earlier, it drastically reduces stress and anxiety because you know you have that cushion. You can make better decisions when you're not panicking.
Avoiding that horrible cycle of emergency equals debt equals more stress.
Exactly. And the guide offers some really actionable strategies to actually build this fund, even if you feel like you're starting from absolute zero.
Okay, like what? First, set a realistic goal. They recommend aiming for 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. So if your core monthly bills and necessities are, say, $2,500, you'd aim for somewhere between $7,500 and $15,000 in that fund eventually.
And open a separate savings account specifically for this money. The guide suggests finding a high-yield account if possible to get a little interest. But crucially, having it separate from your everyday checking account reduces the temptation to dip into it for non-emergencies. Out of sight, out of mind, kind of.
Automate your savings. This is a recurring theme in the guide, isn't it? And it's super powerful here. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to that emergency fund savings right after you get paid. Pay yourself first.
Yes. Even starting small, like the guide mentions, $50 or $100 a month is way better than nothing. Build the habit.
Don't feel like you have to hit the big goal immediately.
Right. The guide suggests focusing on maybe hitting a smaller initial goal first, like saving your first $1,000 just to build momentum and confidence. Then you can gradually increase your contributions over time. And definitely dedicate any money you save from cutting those unnecessary expenses directly into this fund. Give those savings a specific job.
And track your progress visually. They suggest things like a savings jar you actually put cash into, or maybe a progress bar in a tracking app. Seeing that number grow can be really motivating.
The guide includes a particularly impactful personal anecdote here about someone having this emergency fund during an unexpected period of job loss.
Right.
They noted it wasn't just about being able to cover the bills, which is obviously crucial. It was about having the mental space, the breathing room to focus on finding the right next job opportunity, rather than feeling desperate and having to just grab the first thing that came along simply because they had that financial cushion.
Wow, that story really underscores the freedom and the genuine peace of mind the fund provides. It's not just about money.
Not at all. And once you have that solid safety net in place, or at least well underway, the guide pivots towards using automation again. But this time for savings and investments, specifically for building long-term wealth with minimal ongoing effort.
Ah, the magic of automation.
It's presented as a real game changer for building wealth consistently over time. It removes the friction, removes the reliance on willpower or remembering to do it each month.
So how does the guide suggest setting up these automated transfers effectively?
Well, first, look at your budget again. Figure out what you can realistically allocate towards longer-term savings and investments each month after your emergency fund is healthy. Then, choose separate accounts, keep your emergency fund separate, maybe have another for vacation savings, and then dedicated investment accounts.
And if your employer offers direct deposit splitting, definitely use it. The guide highlights this. You can often allocate a percentage or a fixed amount of your paycheck straight into your savings or investment accounts before it even hits your main checking.
That's the ultimate pay yourself first strategy. The money's working for you before you even see it.
Yeah.
If splitting direct deposit isn't an option, then just schedule automatic monthly transfers through your bank's app or website. Setting it up to happen right after payday is usually best, so the money moves before you have a chance to mentally spend it elsewhere.
And just like building the emergency fund, start small if you need to. $50 or $100 a month consistently going into investments is a fantastic start, and then gradually increase the amount as your income grows or maybe your expenses decrease over time.
The guide's anecdote about automation is really compelling. They mentioned finding that even relatively small automated amounts added up far quicker than they ever expected. And after a little while, it just became second nature, something they didn't even have to think about anymore. The money was just growing in the background.
That passive wealth building element is incredibly appealing, isn't it? Just set it and let it work. And once you have that solid emergency fund and your automated savings are humming along, the guide encourages actually exploring investment options for growth.
Yeah, this is crucial for long-term wealth accumulation, beating inflation.
Yeah.
Retirement accounts like a 401k through your employer or an IRA you open yourself are foundational. The guide really emphasizes taking full advantage of any employer matching contributions in a 401k.
Rightly calling it free money.
It absolutely is. Hard to pass that up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, for listeners who might be just starting out or find investing kind of intimidating, what options does the guide suggest?
Index funds and ETFs, exchange-traded funds, are highly recommended. They offer broad diversification across many stocks or bonds automatically, typically have much lower fees than actively managed funds, and they're a really good way to get exposure to the overall market without having to stress about picking individual winning companies.
Makes sense. A good starting point. And for someone who really wants a hands-off management approach,
Robo-advisors like Betterment or Wealthfront get mentioned. These services use algorithms, computer programs, to build and manage a diversified investment portfolio for you based on your specific goals, your timeline, and your tolerance for risk. They make investing very, very accessible.
yeah, they really lower the barrier to entry for people who feel overwhelmed by it all.
Real estate is another avenue mentioned for investment, ranging from directly owning rental properties, if that's your thing, to investing more passively through real estate investment trusts or REITs.
Okay.
And the automation principle applies here too. Automate your investment contributions whenever possible. Making regular, consistent investments, regardless of whether the market is up or down that month, that's called dollar cost averaging, benefits significantly from the power of compounding over the long term.
Right. Time in the market.
The guide's overall takeaway from their experience with automation, both for savings and investing, is just how much it simplified their finances and brought this profound sense of security, just knowing their money was consistently working for them with minimal day-to-day effort.
Automation really feels like a core insight from this guide for building sustainable, long-term financial health. Okay, so we've built the budget, we've cut costs where we can, created the safety net, started automating. Now we need to make sure this whole system keeps running smoothly, right? Keeps working for us.
Exactly.
This moves us into the crucial part about staying on track, which involves monitoring, adjusting, and importantly, avoiding impulse spending. The guide is really clear. Budgeting isn't a one-and-done task. Monitoring and adjusting are ongoing necessities.
Think of it like regularly checking your roadmap on that trip. You need to make sure you're still heading towards your destination and make those little course corrections as needed. The guide really stresses the importance of regular budget reviews.
Schedule these. Make it a non-negotiable appointment with yourself. Maybe monthly is a good rhythm. Treating it seriously, like any important meeting, helps you actually stick with it.
And when you review, analyze the variances. Compare what you plan to spend in each category versus what you actually spent. If you budgeted $300 for groceries but spent $400, understanding why that happened is key.
Was it a one-off special occasion? Did prices genuinely go up, or was it just too many impulse buys at the checkout?
Exactly. Use those tracking tools, the apps or spreadsheets, because they often provide charts or visualizations that make these trends, these variances, really jump out at you. Makes it easier to see patterns.
And crucially, the guide says, celebrate the wins. Take a moment during your review to acknowledge where you stuck to your budget, or maybe where you even exceeded your savings goals for the month. It reinforces the positive habits, makes it feel less like just finding problems.
Yeah, that positive reinforcement is important. The guide's anecdote here is that these regular monthly reviews actually transformed financial management for them. It stopped feeling like just a tedious chore and became a genuinely rewarding time to see their progress and reflect on their accomplishments.
That's a great shift in perspective. Now, making necessary adjustments is kind of the flip side of monitoring, isn't it?
It is. Life changes constantly. You might get a new job, hopefully with a raise, get married, move to a new city, have a child. Any significant life event almost always requires revisiting and potentially overhauling your budget to reflect that new reality.
And even without big life events, you should reevaluate your fixed and variable expenses periodically. Did your rent go up? Did you finally cancel that unused streaming subscription? Adjust the numbers.
And as you achieve goals, set new ones. Maybe you paid off a car loan, great. Now, where does that money go? Adjust your budget to fund your next savings target.
The guide is also pretty kind here. It says, don't stress excessively over setbacks. Budgeting is fluid. Some months you'll go over in certain categories. It happens. The important thing is to learn from it, adjust if needed, and just get back on track next month.
Monitoring and adjusting is truly what makes the budget a dynamic, living tool that keeps pace with your actual life, not just some static plan you made 6 months ago that quickly becomes outdated and useless.
Okay, so regular check-ins keep the roadmap current and relevant. But the guide also directly tackles a major obstacle that trips up so many people: impulse spending.
Ah, yes, the budget killer for many. This is a really common challenge, absolutely. The guide offers some very practical strategies to tackle it head-on. Strategy 1, practicing delayed gratification.
Okay, so this means resisting that immediate urge to just buy something the moment you see it, and instead waiting.
Right. First step is to identify your triggers. What situations or feelings make you want to spend impulsively? Is it boredom, scrolling online, seeing stuff on social media, feeling stressed after a long day, or maybe being out with friends who are spending? Knowing your personal triggers is the first step to managing them.
Then, create a cool-down period. The guide suggests a simple rule like waiting 24 or maybe even 48 hours before making any non-essential purchase over a certain amount.
Yeah.
During that waiting time, ask yourself those critical questions. Do I truly need this? Will I still want it just as much in a day or two? Does it fit my budget? Does it align with my goals?
And visualize your goals again. Keep reminders visible. Maybe a picture of that vacation spot you're saving for on your fridge, or a savings tracker for your house down payment on your phone background. These visual reminders can really deter impulse buys by connecting the potential purchase to what you're actually working towards, what you'd be sacrificing.
And the guide suggests finding ways to reward yourself that aren't necessarily tied to spending money on material goods. Focus on experiences maybe, or low-cost treats that you can genuinely look forward to without completely derailing your budget.
There's a great anecdote in the guide about someone who consciously delayed buying the latest gadget they really wanted, put that money aside, and instead consciously redirected it towards saving for an adventure trip they'd been dreaming about.
Okay.
They found the fulfillment and the memories from the actual trip were far more lasting and meaningful than the temporary high they would have gotten from the gadget purchase.
That's a powerful reframe, thinking about where you get the most lasting value, not just the immediate gratification. Okay, strategy 2 from the guide for curbing impulse spending: implementing spending freeze periods.
This is a more focused, maybe more intense approach. You define a specific period, could be a week, could be a whole month, where you commit to buying only absolute essentials, no extras.
Plan ahead for that period, right? Make sure you have enough groceries, toiletries, household supplies, etc., to avoid needing any non-essential trips out where you might be tempted.
Track your progress during the freeze. Maybe even keep a journal of your urges to spend. This can provide deeper insight into why you feel the need to spend impulsively and what triggers those feelings.
And definitely celebrate your success at the end of the freeze period. Reflect on the money you saved, sure, but maybe more importantly, reflect on how it felt to successfully resist those urges and stick to your plan.
The guide shares how someone did a month-long spending freeze and not only saved a decent chunk of money, but actually discovered some new free or low-cost hobbies they genuinely enjoyed, like exploring local parks or trying out new recipes at home using ingredients they already had. It brought a real sense of accomplishment beyond just the financial savings.
These strategies, delayed gratification and spending freezes, they aren't about permanent deprivation, are they? It's more about building discipline and consciously redirecting your focus and your money towards what truly matters to you and your long-term goals.
Exactly. They help you build a healthier, more intentional relationship with your money over time.
Which leads us perfectly into our final section: knowing when it might be time to ask for help. Because sometimes, despite all your best efforts, tracking, planning, automating, you might reach a point where seeking professional advice is actually the smartest move.
Yeah, the guide is very realistic about this and frames seeking professional help not as some kind of failure, but as a proactive and often very wise decision. There's no shame in it.
So when does the guide suggest consulting a financial advisor might be necessary or particularly beneficial?
Well, several situations. When you have complex financial situations that go beyond basic budgeting, maybe you're dealing with a significant inheritance, trying to manage multiple income streams, or run a small business, or navigate complicated investments.
As you get closer to retirement, figuring out the best withdrawal strategies and making sure your savings will actually last throughout your retirement years, that's huge.
If you need specific investment guidance and feel unsure or overwhelmed about where to allocate funds, how to diversify properly, or develop strategies that match your risk tolerance.
Big life changes often warrant it too. Getting married, going through a divorce, having a child, making a major career transition. These events often require a completely new financial plan.
Absolutely. And if you have really substantial financial goals, like buying a home in an expensive area, funding multiple kids' college educations, or starting a capital-intensive business, and you need help creating a truly achievable, detailed plan to get there.
The guide mentions their own experience consulting an advisor specifically to navigate receiving an inheritance, highlighting just how complex the tax implications and investment decisions can be with those kinds of unexpected windfalls.
That personal experience really underscores the value an advisor's specific expertise can bring to complex, maybe emotionally charged scenarios. And the guide lists several key benefits of working with a financial planning professional in general.
You get personalized strategies right.
Hmm.
Advice tailored specifically to your unique situation, your goals, your values, not just generic advice you read online.
They bring professional expertise in areas most of us just don't have deep knowledge in: investments, tax laws, insurance products, estate planning. The list goes on. They can provide accountability. Having regular check-ins with an advisor can really help you stay on track with your plan.
It's potentially a huge time saver too. They do the research, monitor the markets, keep up with changing regulations so you don't have to spend hours trying to figure it all out yourself.
And ultimately, for many people, it can significantly reduce financial anxiety. Just having that peace of mind, knowing you have a knowledgeable, objective partner helping you make crucial financial decisions, can be invaluable.
The guide notes how getting that tailored planning really led to so much more clarity and confidence in their own spending, saving, and investing habits moving forward.
Seeking advice is a proactive step towards solidifying your financial future. The guide's message is really clear here. It's never too late to reach out for that support if you feel like you need it.
Okay, wow. We have really taken a deep dive into this comprehensive guide on mastering your monthly budget. Feels like we covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We've journeyed all the way from understanding the fundamental importance of budgeting and its key components through the essential practical steps of tracking your spending and setting those effective SMART goals.
We covered building the actual realistic budget itself, looked at some powerful practical strategies for cutting costs, the absolute necessity of building that emergency fund safety net, and leveraging the power of automation for both savings and investments.
And we wrapped up by discussing the crucial ongoing process of monitoring and adjusting your budget, tackling common hurdles like impulse spending with specific strategies, and importantly, recognizing when seeking professional financial advice might be the right move for you.
It's really clear from this guide, isn't it, that mastering your budget isn't some destination you just arrive at once and you're done. It's very much a dynamic, evolving process that changes as your life changes.
But the core message, which I think was powerfully conveyed throughout the guide, is that taking control of your finances, even starting small, is incredibly empowering. It truly is the key to unlocking greater financial freedom and achieving that lasting peace of mind we all want.
So based on everything we've explored today from this listener's guide, here's maybe a final thought for you to sit with. What single, small, actionable step can you take this week, like right now or tomorrow, inspired by something we discussed, that will move you just a little bit closer to your specific financial goals? And maybe think about how that one small action, if you applied it consistently, how might that compound over time?